Hello, it's Leslie here again. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about what you can do in the very beginning of learning a language. In the very beginning, one of the first things I do is get a translator. And in the old days, when I first learned Spanish, that meant something like this. This is a Franklin translator. This is one I picked up in about 2005, I think. I got this from Salt Lake City, actually, Utah, I think. And I could just walk into a shop and I bought this translator, and it was one of the best translators available. And at the time, it was okay. And I remember sitting there, using it, and I would use it with some people that I wanted to speak Spanish with, like, for example, at the time, then my girlfriend, we would use this a lot. It got a lot of use. Okay, the trouble with this type of translator, though, it's like a dictionary, but it can be faster. But the trouble with it is it's only like a dictionary. So I think even today, they still function like dictionaries. So you can only really translate one word at a time. And so they only translate one word at a time. That's the major downside. So if you want to translate a whole phrase with this sort of translator, forget it. So I'm actually going to sell this now on eBay because I never use it. I never use it. It costs hundreds of dollars in the beginning, and the price of these has actually gone up, believe it or not. This has actually quite a high resale value. I don't know why. So I'm going to show you what I use instead of a translator. Because that's the major flaw with it. It has all the conjugations, it has the dictionary, but it can't do a phrase. So what I use now is my smartphone. This is an old smartphone, but this is my main smartphone. So it's a HTC One X. And if you go onto the Google, if you've got an Android phone, that is, if you go onto the Google thing, I'm using Google Translate. Okay, so that app is free. You don't have to pay for it. And I can tell you now that a lot of people are using that app. Everyone I talk to in Russian or whatever, anywhere around the world, half of them, more than half, have got this app installed. There's 500 million people using this app in the world. That's 10%, I think, is it? 500 million. That's half a billion people. There's only like 6 billion. It's like 10% of the whole world is using this app. So it's a lot. So if you don't use it yet, go and get it. And in fact, if you don't have a phone, if you don't use a smartphone, I know some people don't use smartphones. Some older people, they don't want to use smartphones. Well, it's even worth buying a smartphone for that app, even if you don't use it as a phone. Even if you just get one app and get that app just to use your phone like a translator. Why do I say that? Because you can put in when you get the translate app happening, you enter your text there. And it will magically translate the whole phrase. So I think you already know about that. But what I do when I first buy it is when I first install it, I download the languages. So I make sure I can download to make sure I can access the app. If I've got my Wi-Fi turned off, or if I'm somewhere out in the middle of nowhere or whatever. You can download the language, each of the languages. So at the moment I have Russian, Spanish, and Italian on there. And I use this every single day. It's probably my most used tool, and it's free. How do I use it? Well, I can tell you exactly how I use it. I sit on my bed in the evening, or lay on my bed actually, and I watch anything I watch in language learning. I have this by my side, and I make sure it's charged. So I watch whatever it is on the television in YouTube through the television, and I'll explain how I've set that up in another video to be like a media center. So I'm watching stuff on the television, which is actually connected to the internet. It might be a kitchen series in Russian, or it might be Veronica's Italian Learn Italian with One World Italiano. And anytime I come across a word I don't understand, I put it in the app. In the beginning, it's a real pain in the ass looking up every single word. But if you don't do that, you won't learn the language. Like, if you think you can learn a language by sitting there and just passively absorbing it, it doesn't really work that way. So the people who are curious and want to know what that word is, they're the ones that are going to learn the language faster. So usually what'll happen is this word will keep cropping up more often than the others, and I'll want to know what that word is. The words that I don't see quite so coming up so frequently, you can leave that until a bit later on. But that's the main way I'm learning at the moment, is just to put something on. First I might do an introductory course, anything from 1 hour to 8 hours for this thing. And then for whatever language, say it's in Italian, I do a 1 hour course, 3 hour course, an audio app. While I'm driving, to give me a basic vocabulary of maybe 500 to 1,000 words. And then I go to the TV with the smartphone with Google Apps. It has 6 million ratings on the Google app on the Android thing. Oh, and by the way, that's only the people with Android phones. If you've got, I don't know if you can get it with, I assume you can get it with an Apple phone. So that's like probably, 15% of the world that's using that app. So if you don't have it, it's worth getting the smartphone, $100 for a smartphone, just for that app, because this kills this, right? The only difference is, the only negative thing I don't like about it is, actually, I'll come to that in a minute. 6 million ratings it has on there, and I think it's 4.5 stars people have given it. I'll have a look real quick, if you bear with me. Yeah, the average review is 4.5. I think it deserves actually more like 4.8 or close to 5. The only thing I don't like about it is you can't really select whether you want a formal translation into the formal or the familiar, like V or T or tu or vosotros and all that sort of thing. So there are ways around that, though. If you type, for example, sir or madam or something like that into the sentence, and use more formal language, and then ignore that afterwards, you can get it to translate and put things into the formal or the informal. Or if you put in dude, it'll tend to translate it in the conversational to form, right? So anyway, I can't say enough good things about that, and that's most of the time the way I'm learning languages at the moment, to get to maybe 5,000 words, is with the Google app. It's almost not worth me watching the video or whatever at all if I don't have my phone charged, or whatever reason. Half the time I end up doing something else, like Audible audio course or something. If I'm watching, say, for example, now it's Hotel Elion, and something like that in Russian, I pretty much have to go and get my phone before I start, because a word is going to come that I don't know, and I'm going to want to look it up, and it's a way faster than having a dictionary. When you're in a darkened room, you can see what you're doing. It's just faster. Then you can also save the things. I star them, so it will remember them, and I can come back to them later. So I mean, that doesn't cost you anything. And I think, if you want to learn a language, that's probably the first thing I'd do before buying one of these little Collins phrase books that I've spoken about before, is just install that app, because pretty much all I reckon, I think most multilingual people already have that app. The other thing it's good with, my webcam just cut out. I was saying, the other thing it's good with is if you're in WhatsApp or something like that, it will, if it's installed, it will come up with a little circle that you press over the top of the app that you're using, and it'll quickly switch between, like the tabs, and save you having to press this button down here. So it's actually pretty good with phones, and I think a lot of young people already know about it, but targeting more older people with this video channel. So I think, yeah, get the Google Translate app. Probably that's the first thing I would do, in fact, I've already got the Finnish one installed, because I'm starting to get a little bit curious about that language. That's another topic though. So I highly recommend the Google Translate app. Okay? So thanks for watching. That's all I have for you today. Bye.